I am always ready and able to defend my opinions with the utmost academic rigor at
Then let
any
me lead
time.
in.
You could shake me up in the middle of the night and be like, Brederick, Brederick. And I'd be like, what's going on? Just be like, our bike path's a good thing. And I would say, fuck that shit. No. And then I would be into it.
Yeah. Well, no one is saying that you need to alter your opinion. I would just like to say, first off, thank you to our listeners that have sent in both love and hate mail.
Yes.
Not that I would describe a thoughtful letter to the editor as either of those. It's really in its own third category. But we did receive a thoughtful message in defense of bike lanes as a form of transportation. I have to say, I'm going to give my perspective, and Brederick, you can choose to give your perspective, or
of course,
can move on. No further comments, sort of thing. I personally like biking, and I like bikes as a form of transportation. I did not own a car for most of my adult life, and owning a car is a large financial burden. Cars scare me. I feel like I'm going to die most days when I drive a car around town. I much prefer bikes for transportation for a lot of different reasons. The letter was essentially an exhortation of the benefits of bicycles as a mode of transportation and a defense of bike lanes. I think that if I can remember your argument correctly, there was an element of like excessive cost and not enough ridership for the bike lane. I think that's an important element to consider, but me personally, Don is pro bike. Don is pro bike for transit. Although I have stopped riding a bike because the cars keep trying to terminate me with extreme prejudice, as the Pentagon euphemism goes.
Yes.
Which I guess is why bike lanes are a nice thing, or bike paths.
They are.
Rather.
Paths, yeah. Ironically, the serious bikers, the like Lance Armstrong, inspirational type people, they're never on the bike path. They're in the road anyway. Even if you were to give them their own super highway lane, they're still like, I want to take up the main lane. Is that true? You know that's true.
When they have the spandex on and they have the big helmet, they're riding on the yellow line.
Yes. So I would also just like to, from the bottom of my heart, and I mean this in all sincerity, thank our devoted listener for this comment. And I mean, we won't read the whole comment, but it's long and it's thoughtful. They definitely have some extremely well justified points. There's links to economic studies, which
studies were included.
I appreciated that. I will say two things. The first thing is, I opened up by using some adult language and joking. I am also pro bike path. I am. I've said on the show before, I bike commuted for something like 6 or 7 years of my life. It was my primary modality of transportation. I bicycled everywhere, and I loved it. I really did. I was also in a climate that made that practical. Okay, it made it practical. I'm currently living in a climate where it is not practical. It's just not practical for most of the year. Even in the summer, it's just too hot. So you can't even do it in the summer unless you have like a change of clothes, right? So the first thing I will say is I am pro biking and I am pro bike path, just to address some of the listeners' concerns around bike paths and saying, is it better to bike or is it better to drive? Yeah, I mean, like, one for one, it's better to bike. I agree. If you're going to the corner store, if you're going 3 or 4 miles down the road and it's like a reasonable time of year, yeah, 100%. Take a bicycle, no doubt. The second thing I'll say, that, and the spirit of my comment was actually from a completely different angle of analysis, and it was the we can't afford it angle. And he made a very clever argument about this, so I think he recognized that that's what I was saying, and he was trying to say that if I invest $1 in a bike path, but it causes the overall value of my community to raise $1.50, this is actually like a net positive thing. Like, we've actually added value to our society. And I think there can be a perspective on that, But my contention is we don't have the dollar. We don't have the dollar to put it in there. And in fact, we have other places where the value add to the society will be much more than $1.50. And so my argument is that transportation is actually a solved problem. And while it is not ideal and there are externalities and this, that, and the other, in our particular community where this is at, that $1.50, even if it is realized in home values and all that kind of thing, is not actually a real number in the sense of we can't afford it and there are better uses for that money. And we only have so much money. And for me, putting it in a bike path, even though I am a lover of the bicycle, a path and biking, it's not the best bang for a buck. That's basically the takeaway.
I would probably bike more if they still had those bikes where the first wheel is gigantic and you needed to mount it using like a ladder and the secondary wheel was tiny.
Yes.
That would be cool. Unfortunately, I don't know why they got rid of those. Those were a vibe.
I think there were many reasons why they got rid of those, but I will tell you this. I actually knew a guy growing up who was a custom like clown bike builder. I'm not making this up. He went to the church. That's an
economic niche right there.
Dude. And he would do exactly what you just said. He would make these just like outlandish bikes, like bikes that were like the seat was like 10 feet off the ground and they had like super, super small tires and then the frame would be giant. Do you know what I mean? And you literally had to like climb a big ladder to get on top of it. And like to get off this bike, I remember him just Geronimoing off the side into like a grassy knoll area. So
did they have giant pedals for the clown shoes?
You know,
I don't shoe remember. Clips, but they're like a square foot.
I don't know. Yeah, but in all sincerity, I love the comment. I appreciate it. I think you're saying a lot of very valid things here. I'm not sure they're critiquing exactly what I was trying to get at. My main critique is we just can't afford it anymore. We can't afford to have these bike paths, and we need to be very judicious about dollars that we're spending, and they need to be spending on very high impact ROI in terms of short-term beneficial things. Like maybe it would make more sense to go around to people who are out of health or whatever, however you want to put it, and be like, we're actually going to buy you a gym membership for the next year. Maybe that would be a way to have a similar health benefit, but have the economic measurability be much more kind of short-term and beneficial.
Yeah. Well, regardless, we appreciate the feedback. Yes. All the people all the listeners out there that have poured their hearts and minds out. We love it and we appreciate